It was a chilly Monday morning in downtown Chicago. The glass towers of Hawthorne Industries caught the first glimmers of sunlight, standing tall and proud, symbols of wealth and power. Inside the main lobby, the marble floors gleamed like mirrors. The staff bustled about, preparing for the arrival of the company's notoriously sharp-tongued CEO, Victoria Hawthorne. Victoria was a woman who believed in precision, order, and discipline. Her company was her empire, and in her mind, there was no room for the slow, the unqualified, or, worse, the lazy. That morning, as she swept through the lobby with her assistants trailing behind, she spotted a man kneeling near the entrance, scrubbing the floor by hand. His gray janitor's uniform was worn and faded. His hair was peppered with white strands, and his hands looked calloused, the skin cracked from years of work. He didn't look up when she approached, still polishing the tiles. "Excuse me," Victoria's voice cut through the air like ice. "Why are you here this early? You don't belong here right now. This is a high-security area before business hours." The man slowly stood up, meeting her sharp gaze with calm eyes. "I'm here for my daughter." Her brows knit in confusion. "Your daughter? What does that even mean? This is a Fortune 500 company, not a daycare." Before he could reply, her assistant whispered, "Ms. Hawthorne, that's Mr. Miller, the night janitor. He's been with the building services for 5 years." Still, Victoria's tone remained cold. "That doesn't answer my question." The man, Daniel Miller, shifted his mop aside and spoke quietly. "My daughter is Emily. She's in the new intern program. Today's her first day. She's been dreaming of this since she was a little girl. She's nervous, so I came early to make sure she walked into a clean lobby, a place she could feel proud of. I want her to believe she belongs here, even if I never will." The room fell silent. The assistants glanced at each other, unsure how to react. Victoria blinked, taken aback. "You came early just to clean for her?" Daniel nodded. "Every parent wants to give their child a better start than they had. I don't have much, but I can give her that." Something in his voice, steady, sincere, stirred something in her. It reminded her of mornings years ago when her own father, a mechanic, would wipe grease off his hands before coming to her school plays, so she wouldn't be embarrassed. She had buried those memories under layers of ambition and steel. Trying to regain her composure, she muttered, "Your daughter, she's Emily Miller?" "Yes," Daniel replied softly. "She's brilliant, driven. She'll do great things, if she believes she deserves to be here." Victoria stood in thought for a long moment. Then, to the shock of her assistants, she set down her leather briefcase and looked Daniel in the eye. "Mr. Miller," she said slowly, "you're wrong about one thing. You do belong here. You belong because people like you are the reason places like this even function." Daniel gave a small smile. "I'm just doing my job. And I," she said firmly, "am not doing mine if I don't recognize people like you." That afternoon, during the intern orientation, Victoria personally introduced Emily Miller, not as just another intern, but as the daughter of one of the hardest working men I've ever met. She told the entire room about the man who came early, not for a paycheck, but for love. Emily's eyes filled with tears. She looked over at her father, who stood in the back, his mop leaning against the wall, and mouthed, "Thank you." The moment became office legend. Months later, Emily would go on to lead a major project, earning her a full-time position. And Victoria? She quietly started a scholarship program for employees' children, ensuring more stories like Emily's could be written. Because sometimes, belonging isn't about titles or salaries. It's about the heart you bring into a place. And on that cold Monday morning, a millionaire CEO learned that lesson from a quiet janitor, who was simply there for his daughter. In the weeks that followed, Victoria found herself noticing things she had never paid attention to before: the quiet hum of the vacuum in the early mornings, the way the trash bins seemed to be emptied with almost invisible precision, the smell of freshly polished floors that greeted her every Monday. Daniel was always there, not drawing attention to himself, but making sure everyone else could do their jobs without a single disruption. She realized she had walked past people like him for years without a second thought, always assuming their presence was just part of the background, not the foundation. One evening, long after most employees had left, she spotted him in the break room, repairing the handle on the coffee machine. He didn't see her watching. His hands were steady, careful, as if even the smallest task deserved his full effort. She stayed in the doorway for a moment before finally speaking. "You ever take a break, Mr. Miller?" she asked. He looked up, startled, then smiled faintly. "Breaks are for people who can afford to lose time. I like keeping things running." Her lips curved into the faintest smile. "You're a rare breed, you know." He shrugged. "I'm just doing for this place what I wish I could have done for my own home when Emily was younger. Back then, we didn't have much. The roof leaked, the heat didn't always work. I couldn't fix everything, but I could make sure she knew I was trying." Victoria felt the words land heavier than she expected. That night, in her penthouse overlooking the city, she found herself thinking about her own father's rough hands, the way he used to sneak sandwiches into her school bag so she'd never go hungry. Success had built walls around those memories, but Daniel's quiet pride had cracked them open. A month later, Emily knocked on her father's door late at night. She held up a letter with trembling hands. "Dad, I got promoted." Her voice wavered between disbelief and joy. Daniel pulled her into a hug, holding her like she was still the little girl he'd carried on his shoulders to the bus stop. "You earned it, kiddo. You belong here." What he didn't know was that Victoria had personally recommended Emily for the position, telling the hiring board, "She doesn't just have talent, she has the kind of drive you can't teach. I know where it comes from." By the end of the year, Daniel's quiet acts of love had rippled through the company. Employees began greeting him by name, not title. The scholarship fund had its first 5 recipients. And in the lobby, next to the gleaming company awards, a new plaque was installed.